All right, Shalom. First, let's start by saying all praise to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahushai, by Hashem Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles that rule well, and salutations to the brothers that's doing the truth and sincerity. As you can see, the title of this clip is Russian Navy Confronts Unwelcome U.S. Warship. So I'm going to play this and then get into some precepts, just to update on what's going on with Russia and the rest of the nations and their military drills and stuff that they got going on.
Hey everyone, I'm Ben Swan, live from the RT America headquarters in Washington, D.C. This is the news on RT America. Here are the headlines for this Friday. A Russian warship has to force a U.S. Navy destroyer out of its territorial waters. So what is the U.S. Navy doing, and what is the long-term play here? We'll discuss that. Plus, a British MP, a member of UK's Conservative Party, stabbed to death at a church in eastern England during what was supposed to be a routine meeting with constituents. The country's Home Secretary is calling this an attack on democracy itself. And is Israel quietly continuing to build controversial settlement projects in and around Jerusalem without drawing much attention from Washington? We're going to investigate. Again, I'm Ben Swan. I want to welcome our viewers from around the world, including those of you watching us on the Portable TV app. So what exactly is the United States military doing when it comes to Russia and China? And I don't mean that in some kind of philosophical way. Not talking about a big picture here or even like a 20-year plan. In fact, I'm not even sure there is a 20-year plan. No, what is the U.S. military, specifically the U.S. Navy, doing by sending a U.S. Navy destroyer into Russian waters while China and Russia are holding military exercises? Remember, something very similar happened with China. It was almost exactly a month ago, in fact. The Chinese People's Liberation Army said it had expelled a U.S.-guided missile destroyer that trespassed into China's territorial waters in the South China Sea. It was an international incident for which the U.S. military really offered no explanation. What was the destroyer doing there? We don't know. Now, it's happened again. This time, Russia says it sent a warship on Friday to prevent a U.S. Navy destroyer from what it described as an attempt to intrude into Russia's territorial waters in the Sea of Japan. According to the Russian Navy, they closely approached the U.S. destroyer, the USS Chaffee, to chase it out of an area near Russian waters that were declared off-limits to shipping due to gunnery drills that were being held as part of a Russia-China joint exercise. It said the Russian vessel came close to the U.S. warship after it had ignored repeated warnings to leave the area in the Peter the Great Gulf. The Russian Navy also claims, after making an attempt to cross the Russian sea border, the U.S. warship changed course when the two ships, get this, were just 66 yards away from each other and then sped away. We're talking about the distance between those two military warships, just over half a football field. So again, what is the mission here? What is the goal? Is it provocation? By the way, Washington hasn't even commented on this latest incident. Why is that? We're going to break it all down today. We begin with coverage from RT's Alex Mihailovich.
As Russia and China were in the middle of conducting joint naval drills today, similar to these seen here, a $1 billion U.S.-guided missile destroyer decided to get a little too close for comfort. This is footage of the USS Chaffee in the Sea of Japan, provided by Russia's defense ministry, which says that the U.S. Navy's destroyer attempted to intrude into Russia's territorial waters. According to the ministry, the Russian Navy's Admiral Tribut's destroyer came as close as 66 yards from the U.S. ship, which eventually changed course and sped away. The U.S. warship allegedly ignored repeated warnings to leave the Peter the Great Gulf, an area which was declared off-limits due to the joint Russia-China Navy exercises, which included artillery drills. This is not the first time that Russia has had a run-in with Western military forces at sea this year. Back in June, Russia says that its borders were violated in the Black Sea and that warning shots were fired from Russian patrol ships, as well as a bomb dropped from a warplane to keep a British destroyer out of its territorial waters. While the UK has denied the account, at the time, President Putin called the incident a provocation.
We are in our territory fighting for ourselves, for our future. It is not us who came to them crossing thousands of kilometers by air or by water. It is they who approached our borders and violated our maritime territory, and that is an essential element of this situation.
The incident was the first time since the Cold War that Moscow acknowledged using live ammunition to deter a NATO warship. This followed another tense encounter in November.
Right, and that's the main point of this video is that, you know, the heat is turning up because he says the first time since the Cold War, you know.
November 2020, in which the U.S. Navy destroyer John S. McCain also invaded Russian waters in Peter the Great Bay and was chased off by a Russian destroyer, which threatened to ram the American vessel if it did not change course. As for the latest incident with the USS Chaffee in the Sea of Japan, Russia has said that the maneuvers of the American destroyer represented a crude violation of international guidelines and a 1972 agreement between Russia and the U.S. on preventing air and naval incidents. The Russian Ministry of Defense summoned the U.S. military attaché to protest the incident. There are reports that U.S. officials have disputed the account, calling the interaction safe and professional. For RT, I'm Alex Mihailovich.
All right, with all that in mind, let's bring in former U.S. Pentagon official Michael Maloof. Okay, Michael, so you've heard the setup here. We've kind of seen the picture being painted, but what is going on here? I mean, we see the U.S., it seems like we keep sending these warships into territorial waters for China and Russia, especially when military exercises are taking place. It seems to be kind of the common thread here. How do you see it?
It's a combination of things. Number one, they want to have a close eye on just what the tricks are in terms of their exercises, number one, and they want to get as close as possible. Secondly, you got Vladivostok, which isn't all that far away, and oftentimes ships will go in and even aircraft will go in and try to see what lights up, what radars and what have you, defense systems light up. It tends to be a provocation. We do it. The Russians did it, especially during the Cold War. We both did it. In this case, you got another issue entirely, the Gulf of Peter the Great. Russians declare that it's territorial waters. That poses a problem because international law, it doesn't strictly define gulfs or bays in terms of territorial waters as such, unless there's something other countries are contiguous. In this case, you have contiguous countries that share that gulf. So it needs to be redefined, but no one ever wants to address it. But generally, given that you have warships engaged against other warships, it's really meant to try and see what the other person's maneuvers are, whether they got new tricks, and how they react.
But when you describe this, you used the term Cold War. This was a tactic that was used a lot in the Cold War. Aren't we supposed to be beyond that? I mean, why are we revisiting these tactics that are
They've been declared adversaries? Come on, it's
right.
We're in Cold War II.
We're in Cold War II.
There's no question about it.
So you got.
He said because they've been declared adversaries instead of saying because we at the end of Esau society and you have a shadow on his way back. But that's what the prophets are here for.
China and Russia, and this is happening with both of them. Yeah. But here's the question: what happens when we're seeing these two warships about half a football field away from each other? That's an incredibly small distance for vessels this size. What if something goes wrong?
Well, it was conceivable that the Russians were prepared to ram the U.S. vessel. And in fact, the Russians are basically coming out now saying there are certain red lines, and if you cross them, we're going to take action. And for the first time, as was pointed out earlier, the live ammunition was used as a warning against a NATO ship. This is constant intrusions. The whole idea, basically, is by the United States is to contain both Russia and China, and this is a mechanism to do that.
But when you poke and poke and poke, you get the reaction sometimes that you don't want.
Sure.
When this happened with China a month ago, the Chinese response to it was, okay, you're going to come this close to us. We're going to send warships within 6 nautical miles of U.S. territories in the South Pacific, right?
Don't be surprised if you see Russian and Chinese ships showing up in the Gulf of Mexico one day. That just as a tit for tat.
Right.
I don't rule that out. And China is developing such a Navy. The Russians have such a capability. And I would not doubt that if this continues, you're going to see that happening.
If you saw Russian and Chinese warships in the Gulf of Mexico, heads will explode.
Oh, totally.
No question about it. Mike Maloof, thanks so much.
Thanks so much, man.
Good conversation.
Right, and that's the only point I really want to make. I'm going to go into this Cold War. You know, for brothers just coming in the faith, it's good to go through these documents on wars and everything, because a lot of this helps edify the truth, you know, and bring to life the scriptures. Salakia, it says the Cold War was a period of geopolitical tension between the United States and the Soviet Union and their respective allies. Such same thing that's going on now today. The Western Bloc and the Eastern Bloc, which began following World War II. Historians do not fully agree on its starting and ending points, but the period is generally considered to span the 1947 Truman Doctrine, the 12th of March 1947, to the 1991 dissolution of the Soviet Union, which was on the 26th of December 1991. The term Cold War is used because there was no large-scale fighting directly between the two superpowers, but they each supported major regional conflicts known as proxy wars, and that's going on now today also. Especially with the U.S. I forget who Russia was supporting, if I'm not mistaken. See, a lot of well, I probably just have to do a little bit more in-depth studying, but a lot of information they used to put in the news, you know, like the Russians helping the Iranians and who else? If I'm not mistaken, Sudan and stuff of that nature. A lot of that information has been, at least I haven't kept up with it, has been omitted from a lot of the news as far as the whole proxy war situation goes. But you know, the U.S. uses Al-Qaeda and all them so-called terrorist organizations and stuff. So it says the conflict was based around the ideological and geopolitical struggle for global influence by these two superpowers following their temporary alliance and victory against Nazi Germany in 1945. Aside from the nuclear arsenal development and conventional military deployment, the struggle for dominance was expressed via indirect means, such as psychological warfare, and that's going on a whole lot, propaganda campaigns, that too, espionage, far-reaching embargoes, rivalry at sports events, and technological competitions such as the space race. Now, all this is going on out today. That's why he said the Cold War too. But that's why it's important to go through these documents so that you will be in the know and be able to watch the prophecies effectively. Slakia. I want to give one more thing, because one thing, brothers who's been in the faith for a long time know that, you know, you always need to go into this information and look up these maps, and because, you know, Esau, they don't really teach us nothing or to continue to do these things. Like, after you reach a certain age, it's like you stop learning and, you know, studying and keeping your mind sharp, and everything goes out of the window, which isn't good. This is the Gulf of Mexico. I just want to get the picture of it. It don't even say it on the second picture, but I can get a better picture. The Gulf of Mexico is right here in the middle. This big body of water. See it? And that's extremely close to the U.S. Now, they have been showing I mean, not Iran. Russia has been getting close to America with its bombers and etc. But this is the first time that like they said, that they've used live ammunition to deter a nation, which was the British, since the Cold War. So that's just how you watch. That's how you watch. That's how you know when things are like really heating up. When you get things like this, that happens. So I'm gonna go ahead and go into these precepts. That's how you know. And then Biden just came out and said that they eventually might end up going to war with Russia, something to that effect. So all the prophecies and stuff is lining up, man. You just gotta continue to watch. And that's how you know how close it is. And it's important to watch, because when they cut everything off, then all you're going to have to be able to fall back on is your faith and the scriptures. All your reading and all your studying and everything is going to be your guide in that day. And how you measure the coming of Yahushua. Sorry, give me 1 second. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1. It says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower and will watch to see what he will say unto me and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision, which is the prophecies, and make it plain upon tables in the Bible, that he may run that readeth it. And that's what we have done through the Spirit and power of Yahushua, starting from the apostles on down. As soon as we got the word, we went out there and started teaching. We followed the steps. Then we went out there and started teaching. It says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Now, what we waiting on is for America go into Iran, and Russia gonna be a guard, meaning it's gonna protect Iran, and then Russia and its allies gonna be versus America and Israel, because America allies gonna turn on America. So even though Britain got shot at with live fire to deter them, eventually they're gonna side with Russia. And all that's gonna be through the Spirit and power of Yahushua. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. See, the elect gonna live by their faith. That's what's going to keep them. Now there shall be the stability in thy times. That's what's going to keep the elect straight and sound up into deliverance. Faith. This is Joel. Chapter 3. Verse 1, it says, For behold, in those days and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. And that's why you see us out there on the highways and byways through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. That's the Lord bringing us back. You know? I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is over in the Middle East, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel. Right, so all the captivity that we done went through and all the hell that was put on us from these nations, the Lord is gathering the nations over in the Middle East. That's why there's so many military drills and stuff going on, so much training and everything that's going on. Or plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. Right. So the Lord gonna gather them all together and eventually have them they're gonna be fighting each other, then he's gonna come back and then they're gonna try to fight him and he's gonna shoot missiles and laser beams on them. This is Joel chapter 2, verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. That's them Russians. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords. Oh, see? Salakia. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Right? And that's all it's saying is that the plowshares and the pruning hooks are farming instruments used for agricultural purposes. Spears. There's always some with this devil. The spears and swords are the military capability and military might that the Russians have, based on the Russians. They put their money to their military, and now you see them doing all this training and everything. That Cold War also headed to where it was like an arms race, and they did the same thing now today. You know, so history repeats itself. You know, it says, "Let the weak say I am strong," and that's the nations that didn't have the nuclear capability, and now they got it. You know, example is Iran. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. And that's the angels, because when the angels going to get involved in this battle, in this war, man. Let all the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. So, that's what's coming, man. This is Joel chapter 2, verse 1. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion and Israel. And that means to tell the people the truth from the Bible. And sound an alarm in my holy mountain. That's what we do when we read the scriptures, man. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord cometh, for it is nigh at hand, a day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness. As the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong, there hath not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. And that's talking about the nuclear missiles. Because after this nuclear war, the Lord gonna have it to where his men gonna destroy all the weapons that was created by these heathens, man. There ain't gonna be no more nuclear missiles and stuff. It says, a fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, right? And America was as the Garden of Eden at one point in time. Everything flourished and greenery, etc. Before them, behind them, a desolate wilderness, because it's going to be hit by thermonuclear missiles. Yea, and nothing shall escape them. Right, ain't nothing will be able to escape these missiles, man. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so they run. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people sat in battle array. It says, before their face the people shall be much pained, all faces shall gather blackness. They shall run like mighty men, they shall climb the walls like men of war, and they shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. So it ain't gonna be nothing that Esau can do. His missile defense shields are not gonna work. The Lord wants to take the power and of these missiles and direct them where He wants them to go, man. And everybody that's caught in the path of them are just faith gonna gather blackness, man. They're gonna die. They're gonna burn up. So, with that being said, call Yahweh Shema Shai, double honors to the elders and apostles that rule well, and salutations to the brothers that's doing the truth and sincerity. Shalom.